What's up, everyone? This is Jay High from Couch and Keyboard, and here I am again with another recap for Ultimate Events. Pretty interesting weekends in America. Had some cool stuff, a little bit of international things as well, but I'll go ahead and go over what we saw. So we had MomoCon in region. We had a Georgia pre-local here at 404. A little bit strange in terms of the results. Sometimes pre-local results don't really mean much, but I think it's interesting. We had a DQ here. Jackal didn't show up, but Soul was able to make a pretty big run here, and then Cola getting to winners finals, beating Zomba. Dominator having a good run, beating Yeast and Jazo. And Ploopy had lost to Cola, but had a really big losers run to win it all, beating Zomba and then beating Cola twice, who he had lost to previously. Now, Ploopy, I had mentioned in my Game & Watch video, one of the better Game & Watches. I think I put him at like HM or something. Yeah, because I had Endothea right above Ploopy. But if you count this for stuff, this is pretty interesting. Sometimes people run out of steam at pre-locals. There's a lot of people. You know, it's all in one day usually. So who knows? But good stuff either way. Winning this was pretty impressive. You also had MomoCon, a pretty big event. This was also just like a general convention. Japanese anime, stuff like that. A lot of different things. A lot of games. Smash has been the biggest for MomoCon for a while now. They used to be Melee and Ultimate, but they're kind of just pivoting to Ultimate. Doing Splatoon and fighting games and Rivals. Had a pretty big Rivals bracket, but not quite that stacked. Like, JMAC is good, but yeah, nothing too crazy here. For doubles, this was a decently sized bracket, 80 teams, not bad. And then we had Spargo Chag winning pretty solidly. We had, some pretty interesting stuff. Zomba Free K-Vlog has teamed in the past. I don't know if this was like a DQ or what, but yeah, Light Cosmos lost pretty early, and then they didn't do that well, getting only top 8. Ploopy and Dothea went double. Game & Watch was funny. Fatality Sonido beat Jackal Tweak. Good stuff to that Georgia team there, beating that Tri-State team. But yeah, kind of just tapped it in. Spargo is very good at doubles. Cloud also being a very good doubles character in general. Shout out to Smash 4. But yeah, singles was pretty interesting. Not a ton of upsets to start. But, I remember it was, if you look at these, like, you can tell that there's not that many upsets. But then we had Craft Block beating Mr. E. This was a pretty surprising one. Not even being the 4 seed, being the 5 seed. Beating Padrito and then beating Mr. E. We had a lot of Steves here. Yeah, I think this was a DQ. Yeah, AK DQ'd. Kuzix almost getting that, but Yoshi Sheik can be pretty bad for Sheik. And yeah, so nothing too crazy. We did see Free K-Flock over Omega. And yeah, we had Cola over Tweak. Light over Wrath, which this makes sense. Light has always done good against Sonic in general, being like a kind of a bracket even for Sonics in the past. Yeah, you had Adachi also having a good run. I forgot about Adachi. Beating Spickles and Lukewarm back to back, causing my guy Zero to have a bit of an early one. I was looking like, okay, getting to play the 7 seed as the 4 seed is a pretty good way to get out after getting upset, but my guy Zero didn't quite get there. That's all good. Spickles also came back and was able to bounce back. But yeah, and then besides that, nothing crazy. I was predicting Endothea to make a good run through winners, but Endothea actually had a really good run through losers, getting to top 16, beating Karu, Arsenic, and Free K-Flock, taking advantage of this. I think Endothea's beaten Omega before, but still, easier matchup in general. Mr. E losing, being a really high seed and expecting to go on a run, didn't happen. Sunito had a good losers run. You had Yeah, Regalo kind of flamed out early. We had Jackal making top 8 over Wrath. That was good stuff. Ploopy wasn't able to replicate the pre-local success. But yeah, Anarchy over Omega. That's not too crazy. Anarchy being the 13th seed over 11. But still, that's good. And Omega also being Spickles and Chag before that. But yeah, nothing too crazy in terms of top 8 representation. 1, 5, 2, 6. And then you had 7, 3. Jazzo was 8. And Jackal was 10. So only one non top 8 person getting top 8. So not a ton of upsets. But then top 8 was pretty surprising. Beast Mode Paul beating Tweak and Light back to back, and also was pretty close to being Cola. And then we had some 3-0s here. It was looking really dominant. Cola in region, Jazzo, and then also beating Beast Mode Paul, losing to Spargo, which had happened in winners as well. And Spargo came out of nowhere. I mean, like, getting 3-0 to winners finals is like you still got there, like that's fine, but really turned it around. Really solid from Spargo. Really solid win here. And yeah, and this is not bad by Zomba. Zomba has really high standards based off of having such a good track record this year so far. But I mean, you beat Light and you beat Spargo. Right before that, you'd also beaten Jazzo, Ploopy. This is a good run. But Spargo just turned it on, having a really good bounce back from winners, and yeah, won very solidly. You also had Albion Arena. This was a big bracket, 163 for being in the UK. Had a bunch of fighting games too. This wasn't very top heavy though. I remember calling this. I was like, I think Pelly can go on a pretty good run. Win game 5 in winners and losers finals. And Kendrick Alamar, the young Link, was able to win it all. Kerbo was the top seed, I believe. But when you have like these regionals, and this is a pretty big regional, when you don't have like any like super top seed, kind of like an Arcadian, like a lot of things can happen. And good stuff to them for having such a big bracket. And then the other like really top heavy bracket was in Texas at Comic Palooza. We had a pre-local here, not as stacked as the 404 pre-local, but solid. Yamanak, a pretty good. Paisley, if you want to call Peach, whatever, winning that. And then Comic Palooza did not have very many entrants. We had Momocon having a lot more in singles and doubles, 80 teams, 453 entrants. While for Comic Palooza, you had 25 teams. This is still pretty cool. I watched some of this and rooting for Peanut. Peanut's, Carolina Goat, got a row for him. Japan, Ashimo and T bowed out pretty early, getting a 5th place. Getting 3-0'd by Kalito Cat and Poogie, which I had not heard of either of them, but they had a really good run. And then the Double Peach team was able to make grand finals, but Piedmont Atomic cleaned it up. Good stuff to them. Mars and Beastly, were able to make it pretty far. Almost went to grands, but yeah. A bit of a wonky bracket in terms of doubles, like probably not quite as high levels as Momocon, but singles was very top heavy too. Rivals also had a really strong top 4. You had Mars and Beastly showing up. They're both in contention for the best across both brackets. You didn't see Stango or Cake enter like Melee or anything, or PM. But yeah, Beastly over Mars, Cake over Beastly, and Stango over Cake twice. Pretty surprising. Stango also over Beastly after Beastly won Genesis. So yeah, pretty cool. For Ultimate Singles, we had nothing too insane to start. This was mostly pretty expected. Skits, did beat Geist. That was a bit unusual. Jack Brought also beat Samsora, who has, recently gotten banned, is able to attend stuff now. Yeah, so only a couple upsets here. Some of this lower stuff, like Atata, we know of, so losing kind of early. I've heard of Johnny. I've heard of Toast and Geist. but a lot of it not being like nearly as fleshed out as Momocon, but still really high level. Having two really good Japanese players, but Yamanak beating Ashimo, that is impressive. I mean, I don't think there's that many Peaches in Japan. Probably Umeki is like the main one. Maybe one other I'm forgetting about, but like maybe Key still plays. But yeah, Yamanak just outplayed, really solid. And then you had Meister coming back. We had some high level like old school sets. Meister beating Samsora and then barely losing to Mars. Mars beat Shattuck. I was hoping for Shattuck to pull it out, but it's good to see Mars back. I think that Mars is healthy for the game. And just having like a really like fundamental player able to do some hard reads, and he got some hard reads. Atomic went on a crazy run, beating Monty and Peanut back to back. Now Monty hasn't had the best year. Had a good genesis to get there, to get 5th place. Bit of an easier bracket than maybe what it could have been, but yeah, I mean, earned this top 5 seed, but Atomic 3-0ing them back to back. I watched this set and it was like, I don't know if it's Rob or if it's just like Atomic knowing the matches very well. I feel like Rob is able to kind of escape Mega Man's pressure in a lot of ways, but Atomic just played the matchup very well. So got to give props. Being the 12th seed and getting winter semis, not easy. Piedmont did beat Ashimo, so as a 3 seed, getting 9th place is pretty surprising. Monty did beat Yamanak, so sometimes you get an upset, you're not able to, you go 2-0 from there. That happens. Beastly over Shattuck. Now Shattuck hasn't had the best recent stretch, especially last year was kind of rough for Shattuck. But Beastly, I mean, I feel like Diddy Kong is a little bit more fundamental, where it's not like you have to remember all these crazy things. It's like, okay, like, are you missing, or are you hitting your stuff? Like, it's a pretty simple game plan. I feel like there's certainly nuance to it. Like, they're both Texas, so there's going to be some experience here. You don't play Korin that often, but yeah, good stuff to Beastly. Pretty good upset here, and then matchups like T able to beat Beastly. Nothing too crazy. Again, 12 seed making it into winter semis, pretty unusual. Then you had 1, 12, 2, 6, 4, 8, 5, and 7. So not very unusual here, with Ashimo being the one top 8 seed not to make it, which I wouldn't have bet on Ashimo being that one player. I think this is a bit of a tougher like side of the bracket for Ashimo, but did not expect Yalmanak to do it, so good stuff. Top 8, a bit unusual here and there. Mars beating Peanut. I know Mars is used to play Mega Man like early Ultimate, but yeah. And then I think it's weird because people always assume, maybe it's just me, I assume that like Japan is just always gonna be better than American players, but like Monty is seated higher. It was 5 versus 7, so T beating Monty is an upset technically. And then you have Atomic taking games here, going very close with T. Lima Mudace was really back and forth. I mean, I'm sure they played a ton, both being Texas. But yeah, Lima beat 3-0 Mars, losing to T. And then, T going Pac-Man against Sonics, which throwback to Fudge versus Ben. Those were some long sets. Which Fudge is actually in Texas now. I don't know if he still plays, but a really good Sonic, and then Ben being a very good Mega Man from my, I guess Fudge was nearby city, but when they played, it was slow paced. So this was definitely, it's like, okay, I'm not exactly thrilled to watch this, but Sonic's clutched up. But Mudace was really solid. I know Mudace has beaten Sonics before, but I mean, this was like clinical. Like, yeah, Sonics did very good set 1, but double 3-0ing him in the sets he won, very good from Mudace. Very, very good. But yeah, so I think that, like, unfortunate timing for these events. I think they both could have done very well. But I don't hate that, we had Southeast, you had, like, kind of Southwest, depending on how you classify Texas. I think there was some cool stuff here. I really liked it. While I preferred to watch MomoCon a little bit more, I just knew more players there. This was also, like, seeing Peanut do well here was cool. Yeah, I wish there could have been more attendance to kind of flesh it out, but it's not a bad thing to have like a small-ish bracket and still have a lot of top-level talent because like they usually their sponsor might cover their entry anyway, so it's not like it's all profit. Like they might have like free flight covered, whatever. So it's like it may not be as much money in your pocket as it could have been. But sometimes for these events, it's like, okay, you're not trying to snipe to profit. You're probably just trying to play more. And then like 5,000 pot bonus, that'll get people to come. So I guess that also helps. But yeah, cool stuff. Seeing Mars coming back to winning. I was rooting for Peeb, but I can't lie, Mars was doing like he got this down B spike YOLO like at the very end. I was like, okay, like he is confident, like going for either those down airs or down Bs at the very end, flip kick, like it's good stuff. And T also had a really good losers run here. So good stuff to them. I really thought this was cool. We got Battle BC coming up. We got a couple other things in the meantime. But yeah, good stuff to Ultimate.